So these are the two basic learning objectives of this course. Okay. So that is, you should be able to design products, both hardware and software. That means all connections, also write codes, burn it. So there are several sub objectives of this particular first objective. This is the overall objective. This is the overall objective. This is pre-midsem, you can say. And this is post-midsem. So this is, so we'll teach communications here. So that means this is based on communication. And this is based on assembly language coding. And interfacing, IF interfacing. Okay. So in the first, so lab and theory are clubbed together. Even though you do lab, so the theory is also clubbed here. So therefore, you have to buy the board which Subhadeep Bardhan has pointed out. This Arduino Uno board from either robo.in or at Amazon, whichever has got the access to your place. I think Amazon little bit higher cost, but you'll get quick. What about Subhadeep? Robo does it that's quick or it takes time?
Sir, it generally comes within 5 to 7 working days. So Amazon.
So today you guys order this. You maybe have to order another IoT board, which you will decide later on, maybe ESP or something. So that will be towards mid-sell. So first you buy this board and install the software. Subhadeep Bardhan is going to give a demo on the coming Monday, first up, how to install this and how to take it, make it running. So this is learning objective 1. You have to learn the microcontroller. So I shall share the PDFs with you right now. So the PDFs are Atmel 328. All the PDFs related to that. So I'll just tell you the name of the files you can directly download from the internet. I can I also post it here? I can post it here. Pooja.
Yes, sir.
I am sharing this with you by Dropbox lectures. Inside the lectures, you'll find there are some PDF files. You please share it with them.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
So just now I am sharing with you. I have shared. Take a while, it will be shared. So this is one Atmega. So in this, there are two PDFs. Let me show them. Actually, they will understand better. You share these PDFs with him. So it is about Atmel 328P. So can you see these two, all of you? Hardik, can you see?
Yes, sir.
So these are the, one is this Atmega 328P. This data sheet you download. Okay. So Pooja will share right away. So you have to know how to read lots of data sheets because this is open book. So you have to learn the architecture which is there. You can see there is architecture part. Then there is assembly coding part. So you have to learn all of them. So you have this data sheet with you. Okay. So assembly language coding is also there. All the languages, all the mnemonics are there. This is the instruction set summary you have to learn. Okay. Then you have to learn how to write this code into Proteus. You have to know the Atmel Studio, which Patita Baban will give demo after some time. Okay, so these are the two learning objectives. So Pooja will be sharing with you right now. Dibyanshu, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Ranjal Singh,
Yes, sir.
अरे प्रांजल सिंह कहाँ है?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. So now let's move to the class again. So you can see this. So let's. So what you have to learn? Some marks are coming. So let's discuss, what do you mean by this embedded systems? What are the characteristic of embedded systems? Why embedded systems? So all these things I am going to cover with some lectures. You guys, what you have to do best is you take note on the lectures, okay? Better to take lectures notes because I'm going to put lots of notes there, okay? So all of you guys take notes. Even though I'll share the lecture notes with you, but you take notes because I will tell you many things which are not there on the notes. So can you see this PowerPoint slide?
Yes, sir.
So first module is architecture of embedded systems. So these are some of the things, embedded systems. If you take up your life, if you analyze from early morning to the late night, whatever you are using is having a processor. In a modern automotive, say Mercedes Class C, there will be around 60 processors, 60 number of processors. In your smartphone, there will be at least 7 to 8 processors. In your laptop, there will be like 20 processors. In your tab, there will be like 5 processors. So your life is controlled by most of the programmable digital circuits. Say a digital circuit which is programmable is a programmable controller. The heart of the embedded system, or the most important part of the embedded system, is this embedded controller. Then there will be sensors, actuators, and codes. So you can write down which is you can write down that embedded system. The heart of the embedded system is the processor. Let me do slideshow so that it will be easier for me. First class, there will be some problem. So the heart of the embedded system is a processor. Change the pen color. Right. Which is a programmable device. So it could be 8 bits, 16 bits, or 32 bits. It comes with lots of tools. The tools such as you can program it, tools to program it, which so you are going to learn this 8-bit first. Okay. So after beyond the processors, what else is there? So there will be sensors, actuators, and then code. So this code is your everything. That is your IP. That is what actually you will develop. Because processors, sensors, actuators you have to buy from the market. Remember, embedded system is not VLSI. It is not equal to VLSI. VLSI is a separate game. It has nothing to do with embedded system. Embedded system is one where you have to design systems using off-the-shelf components or whatever is available. Remember, embedded system is the one where you have to choose from different processors, choose from different sensors and actuators, then choose from the tools, then you have to write a code. So nowadays, your code, the code you write is the IP. This is your intellectual property. The code which you build by way of the product development is your IP. For example, we have built a code on aggression detection, aggression. When two people are talking, like I am talking, you are also discussing with me. Can I have an application on my cell phone where I can detect when I become aggressive? Okay. So this leads to aggression and conflict. So that's a code which I have written using a lot of signal processing, AI, mathematics, linear algebra. So that code, no, but that's like brain I have put there. So therefore, an embedded system is a past VLSI. That means VLSI is already done for that. But the three things which makes it possible that this embedded system is these three. That is a sensors and actuator technology, battery technology, and microwave devices. So future, of the embedded systems right now, embedded systems are so smart. You got the smartphones. One of the best examples of embedded system is your smartphone. And one of the best computing environment of embedded system is also smartphone. Those who know how to code in Android or iOS, this is a part of the course which you will not do it, but you can learn how to code in Android or iOS. You can use your cell phone as a computer. You can do anything. So if you look at the Moore's law, in the Moore's law, the transistor packaging becomes, phenomenally more and more dense. So that is the success story why you get the programmable processors which are very good now. Nowadays you have got processors which can control the full automobile. So nowadays everything is connected. As you can see here, you can connect them by wire or you can connect them by wireless. So that means you have this IoT, everything is connected. Your pen can be connected, your shirt can be connected, your specs can be connected. We have developed a spec which you have transferred to Titan. So in the Titan, if you wear that specs, it can tell you about your many health conditions, including drowsiness, including emotion, including any disorder which you are having. If you wear the specs, it will take the EOG, electroocculogram. So from the electroocculogram, you can use it. So there is a small processor on the rim of the thing. I'll show you that device. We build it. We have transferred this technology in two forms. One is to the Air Force, Indian Air Force, and one is to Titan. So that means it is connected. It is connected to your cell phone. So this is called Internet of Things or connectivity. So communication and computing together along with battery technology. Remember, these are the three major driving blocks. So one is this communication. Battery technology. And of course, the VLSI. These three have generated a very class of a family of smart embedded systems. So if you look at the applications of this embedded system, it is everywhere. Automotive, one of the leading user of embedded products. Automotive itself is the complete embedded system. Now the new connotation for embedded system with mechanical systems is called cyber physical systems. It is called cyber physical systems. So that means this is a computing power or microcontroller or whatever. Then it is having sensors and actuators, so it is connected to a physical system. So it controls and then senses. So this is control, then sensing. So this is a programmable device. And this is a physical device. It could be car or anything, your microwave oven, could be your induction cooker, could be your fridge. Okay. So there is no such definition of embedded systems. You can say that embedded means you are putting many things together. For example, hardware, software, high power, low power, high frequency, low frequency. Okay, sensors and actuators, different voltage levels, all of them are together. In your smartphone, there are many things which are together. Like high frequency, you are the microwave signals which you are getting, and the low frequency as you speak. So both are together. So high frequency, low frequency are together. Similarly, voltage levels inside the processor, the voltage levels are very small. The logic levels are small, but outside the processor, the logic levels are large, like 0.5 volt for USB. But inside the processor, the voltage level may be 1 volt to 2 volt swing. Similarly, there are sensors and actuators. Like you are speaking, there is a microphone to receive, a speaker to give back, a screen to display, a vibrator. So there are lots of sensors and actuators, they are so together. And there are many communication protocols, many communication channels. There is a communication of IoT or Wi-Fi modules. There will be Bluetooth, there will be USB, there will be, lots of different communication modules to transmit signal. And over and above, there is a battery which is there as part of the embedded system, and battery is small and it lasts for some time. If your cell phone battery would have lasted for 1 hour, you would not have bought a cell phone, because the battery lasts. Because the battery lasts, so you guys have this cell phone which you are using. Sanchit Agrawal, why this battery is so important? Sanchit, can you tell me? Sanchit, are you there? Sanchit Agrawal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why this battery is so important? You are not paying attention to the class. If you don't pay attention, it is your loss.
So actually, someone was calling from, like my parents were calling for breakfast.
You are calling for breakfast during the class. I have breakfast there itself, no problem.
So yes, sir. So I was replying to them.
Lakshmi Priyanka? Lakshmi Priyanka, can you tell me why battery is so important? Hi Lakshmi Priyanka, are you there? I cannot hear you. Sunit Singha.
Yes, sir.
So why battery is so important?
I think, sir, the programmable device which is there that need to be powered, so battery is important so that it can keep for much longer time.
So just battery will do, or there will be some additional voltage generators? Battery has some fixed voltage.
Hmm. But
Sohan
yes,
Parida,
something additional
why
also.
it is called embedded? Sohan Parida.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Why you call it embedded system?
Because both the hardware and software are used, so they
But in
both
your
work in.
desktop also there is hardware and software. Laptop, it is not embedded system. I told you many things. Can you tell me a modern Mercedes Class 3 car will have many processors? You are not paying attention. That's the problem. Sirsha Chaudhary, can you tell me a Mercedes Class 3 how many processors will be there? Sirsha.
Yes, sir.
अरे क्या
Like,
तुम भूल गया?
like in the
Attention.
laptop you said,
Huh?
like in the laptop you said there are around 20 processors, and in mobile phone 7 to 8.
I said Mercedes Class C. I don't want laptop anymore. I am 50 years old. I want Mercedes Class C actually. Ravi Kumar Mina, pay attention to the class. Otherwise, there is no point in attending the class. Okay. I can see most of you are not paying attention. I think you have practiced this in the last semester in other courses. But here it will not do. I am watching you, okay, because your video is on. So be careful. So next time if I ask a question you cannot answer, you have to log out. I'll have surprise checks, whatever I'm teaching, the last sentence or few last, I can ask a question to you. If you cannot answer, you have to log out. This is the first time. So you have to know. So I have let you know that this is going to happen. You will be logging out if you cannot answer my question. All right. So going ahead. So these are lots of embedded systems which are in the market now. Right now, you can understand embedded system is many things together, many disagreeing concepts. For example, high voltage, low voltage, high frequency, low frequency, sensors and actuators. They have to sit down in a very compact form without disrupting each other. Digital and analog. That is also one more very important thing. Digital circuits are broadband circuits because there is a voltage swing of 0 to 5 volt, which is quick. So if you see digital signals, if you do frequency analysis, it will have lots of high frequency stuffs. But analog signals are smooth. So if you put digital and analog signal, you have to do digital and analog together. You have to take special care. Okay, a digital audio processor, for example, you are speaking very nicely, singing very nicely. So that this is first has to be converted into digital form and then it has to be processed. So both analog and digital is there. Therefore, you have to take special care to separate the grounds, separate so that any disturbance in the digital circuit will not enter the analog circuit. Because digital circuits are switching circuits. Once there is a MOSFET switching, it is going to draw lots of current. So therefore, spikes of current which will disturb the analog ground. So this is a simple thing. Then similarly, high frequency and low frequency. When there is a high frequency signal, it will interfere with the low frequency signal because high frequency gets transmitted. So therefore, you have to take special care to shield the low frequency from high frequency. Then high voltage with low voltage, sensors with actuators. One sensor can generate heat. For example, a vibrator will generate heat. A speaker generates heat. Can you tell me what is the efficiency of a typical speaker? Arif Javed, अगर आपके पास 50 वाट का स्पीकर है, कितना हीट जाता है बता सकते हो आरिफ जावेद?
No, sir.
अरे आप लोग आईआईटी में जब आया कितना स्मार्ट था आप लोग, अभी क्या हो गया तुम लोगों को थर्ड ईयर में? आईआईटी सिस्टम आपको खराब करके छोड़ेगा, पूरा बर्बाद करके छोड़ेगा। इधर छोड़ के चले जाओ, नहीं तो टिके रहो, अच्छी तरह पढ़ो। स्पीकर के बारे में तुम्हारा भाई तुमको पूछेगा तो क्या है स्पीकर, कैसे चलता है, क्या एफिशिएंसी, क्या जवाब दोगे तुम? चिरंजीवी,
Yes, sir.
what is a suppose a 1000 watt speaker,
Yes, sir.
PMPO 1000 watt. What is the efficiency of the speaker? Do you think you are getting sound worth 1000 watt?
No, sir.
Then if it is taking 1000 watt, it is consuming how much sound you are actually getting?
40 to 50 decibel.
So what is the efficiency?
I have to calculate, but V square by R.
10 to 15%. A speaker's efficiency is 10 to 15%, 20% max. Okay. So that means rest 80% gets into heat. आप सेल फोन को स्पीकर मोड में रख के बात करो दोस्त के साथ आज 10 मिनट 5 मिनट, you see how your cell phone gets heated up. ठीक है? So there is heat. So therefore, when there is an actuator and there is a sensor, especially actuator, heat will be there. So you have to manage the heat. So lots of things, to design an embedded system. So at the end of the day, I should say design of embedded system is a skill which is achieved by practice. It is not achieved overnight by learning. So therefore, in India, we are unable to manufacture any very good embedded products like smartphones. Is that clear? So you guys have to change the game. You start designing right away from this class 1. You will learn building products. Okay? You learn in this course. So you choose something. I shall propose one seismometer, which will record, which is very expensive. No Indian market has got it. You have to seismometer. If you come to IIT Kharagpur, there is a seismic observatory near the geophysics department. It is very expensive. Okay. Proper EEG, electroencephalogram recording devices, not manufactured in India. Right. Temperature sensors, like in COVID-19, there are lots of temperature sensors. You need wireless temperature sensors, infrared, etc. It is not also manufactured in this country. Okay, so let's go into the next. So embedded system, I told you about integration of several things together. And embedded system can be multifunction, it can be single function. One of the important factors of embedded system is real time. So generally people call it real time. This is a very fundamental definition. What is real time? When you are writing exam, it is real time. But when you are actually at home and doing an assignment, it is not real time. So real time is the time which is is not your time, a time which is prescribed to you by an external device. That's called real time. I shall tell that you do this within 10 minutes. So that's real time. You have to work on 10 minutes. So most of the embedded systems are real time. They are clocked. So the time comes from a clock. So this clock signal, which is synchronized with most of the systems, digital systems, makes it real time. That means when you are cell phone, you are actually receiving a signal, you are receiving in real time. So this is called real time embedded system. So you are learning basically real time embedded systems. So the common characteristics is it is no more valid single function. It could be single or multi-function. Embedded system like smartphone can do lots of functions. The primary function means receiving the signal and delivering your speech, and also recording your speech and delivering, transmitting it. So this is the most important function of your smartphone. Whatever you do, you watch movies or whatever, if it is connected to the network, whenever there is a call coming in, it will ring. So you cannot stop that unless until you disable the communication. So it is single function, but it has multiple other functions as well when it is not doing that single function. So single function of a cell phone is to receive the signal, decode it, then demodulate it, then amplify it and deliver to your ear through the mouthpiece or the speaker. Then it will also record your microphone, record your speech through your mic, then do the digitization, do the encoding and modulating and transmitting. So this is one of the unique functions of your cell phone. Apart from that, it can do programming, it can do calculating, it can do playing a movie for you, it can do lots of other applications. So most of the time it is single. Whatever it does, it's called single function. It doesn't have multi-processing. Multi-processing means time division, multiplexing, just like a desktop. 4 or 5 programs you can run together. In the cell phones, most of the time you have to use it for one function. Then it is constrained, tightly constrained with time. It is cost-wise. You cannot have a embedded system which is high cost. Economics of embedded system is one of the greatest things you guys have to learn when you build products. So economics of embedded systems. It has to be low cost. Okay. Then it will have to have a low power. It should be small, fast, etc. Also, it has to be reactive and real time. So these are some of the important requirements of your embedded system. So it has to be dependable, safe, it should be maintainable. So these are some of the economics. If you design a system whose components are not available here, then it is not a good idea. Your smartphones, for example, you buy an OnePlus smartphone for 35,000. Most of you must be having very good smartphones, because if you are in IIT, your parents must have given you everything. Most of the parents, they give whatever the kid demands, but it is not at all maintainable. If there is something wrong seriously, then you have to throw it out. Some of the phones are reliable, some of them are not reliable. So reliable means it will work without fail. Reliability is defined by many things. It's a probabilistic measure. It's a mathematical measure. One of the obvious measures is mean time between failures. If you buy a cell phone which fails again and again, you don't like it. If you buy a cell phone, if it fails after maintained, then it is not a good thing. So it's a probabilistic measure, reliability. So it is a part of the dependability. Then maintainable. That means if something fails, you should be able to maintain it at low cost. For example, Apple watches, Apple iPhones. Once if they fail, you have to spend a lot of money to maintain it. Generally, it is not maintainable and it becomes vintage. So Apple products are not maintainable at all. After 5 years, you have to throw out and get a new product. But on the contrary, if you buy some other product like Dell, etc., it is maintainable. So Apple is good, so you have to buy it. Then it is available. So that means the product should be available. That means the components should be available. And it should be secure and safe. Availability depends upon, for India, it is Singapore. If Singapore airport shuts down for 10 days, Indian computers will go down because that is the logistic hub. Singapore is rich because of logistic. वो दलालीगिरी करता है, logistics का दलालीगिरी, वहीं से सब route होके जाता है. So this particular availability etc. are logistic problems, industrial engineering problems. So embedded system has a bigger economic problem. Like when you build a product, there is something called time to develop, time to market, and the cost of the product, market study. So embedded system is completely different by money. Now the question to the class, suppose you are given a chance to build two things using embedded controllers, a very good audio processor for playing beautiful music or a wheelchair, which one you will do? You are given an opportunity to either build a beautiful audio processor to generate wonderful music, multi-way music, 5-speaker music system. All tracks will come from different ways. Like there is guitar come from one way, flute comes from one, voice comes from one. So there is a 5-room, music system. You study the room, put speakers at different places, and the person who is very rich, he is sitting at some place. You design an audio processor, filter out all the music tracks and display at different corners so that he will feel a live concert. You are getting my point. So that is one chance of designing, and another chance is design a wheelchair which will climb the stairs, do all sorts of things. Which one you will design? Rushita? Rishita, which one you will design? Could you get my question? Rishita, you are not audible. Not audible at all. Okay. Ravi Prakash Prasad. RP. Ravi Prakash.
Yes, sir.
Tell me which one you will design. Suppose you are given an opportunity to design a wheelchair, as I said, which will climb upstairs, and another is make an beautiful audio processor which will give you 5-track music and feel somebody like a live concert. Which one you will design?
Sir, maybe the second one.
Second means which one? You tell me which one.
The means audio processor.
Why?
Sir, because the cost involved in that will be easy.
भाई पक्का businessman. सही है. रवि प्रकाश का answer सही है. You have to design an audio processor. If you design a wheelchair, nobody is going to buy it. So embedded systems, remember, is driven by economy, not by need. You got my point? People buy useless products which is embedded system, like music. I have got several Bose speakers with me. I have brought it out of just, spending a lot of money. A simple Bose speaker, if you buy it, it's not less than 15,000-16,000 rupees. It's a complete embedded product and beautiful product. So embedded systems are actually product for the rich, and if you make a medical device using embedded system, it has to undergo lots of testings before it is becoming a product. It is required, but at the initial stage, you design something which will be marketable, people will buy it. Remember this. So that's the whole part of the embedded system. So dependability, as I said, it depends on reliability, maintainability, availability, safety, security. These are logistic problems. Those who will do research in embedded system and research in logistic management, you will find, the security, the logistic part of embedded system is the most important thing. Nowadays, people are already designing that. All right. So what is the time now? I think now, Patita Bhavan, you come in because they have to do something because it will continue. Patita Bhavan, please come in. So I will stop here right now here. Okay. So we'll talk about it tomorrow or maybe day after tomorrow. Okay. So you guys download these data sheets. You have to learn this Atmel 328. You have to buy this quickly. Today only you order. You learn how to program it. Now Patita Bhavan will guide through which software you have to install. Okay. Please be attentive in the class. Okay. So you log in from the laptops because you may have to do small things. So Pooja can take the attendance and Patita Baban just go through it quickly.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, will we be following any book?
Yeah, there are two books which I'll also share with you. One is this. I'll share with you. Patitavan, let him take the class. I am sharing with books. One is Peter Marvedel, Embedded Design and Computers as Components, Wayne Wolf. But mostly you will follow the data sheets. There are no certain book of embedded systems because embedded system teaching changes every year. So this year it is product development is the theme, IoT is the theme. Last year it was signal processing. So you guys, so this time whatever I teach, whatever material I share, you have to read it. Today just two data sheets have been shared. You have to be very attentive in the class. Okay. So those two books also I will share. Okay, Patidavan, up to you.
Okay, so I'll just demonstrate a simple project for the lab that you're going to work. That would be using the Atmel Studio, and it will use our the Proteus software. So any of you have installed any of these two softwares? Are you ready with Proteus software, at least the demonstration version?
I don't think they are. Actually, they will be. Tomorrow they will show that. You just tell them step by step. You guys can record this step-by-step process which Pratita Bhavin is going to tell you. Installing two things. One is Atmel Studio, where you have to write assembly codes which will give you the binary things, and then the Proteus software. So Pratita Bhavan, you can give them a step-by-step process. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just telling few things a little bit before we start, so that whatever I speak you can understand it. So for hardware and software, there are two things. Atmega 32, that is the microcontroller that we are going to use. So the Arduino board that you have, you will purchase. It will have also a Atmega 32 controller, and Atmega 32, as the name says 32, there are 32 registers in that microcontroller, and you have to burn the code that whatever you write to make it work. So that Atmel Studio, we use the software to write our code, and it will generate a hex file which we will use to burn our code into the hardware. So Proteus is the virtual circuit design software. So if you design any circuit virtually, you can test your hex file there. But when you have the hardware, when you get your Arduino board, so you will have to program your microcontroller with the hex file, so that microcontroller will work as per desired. So this is a simple Atmega 32 pin, and there are four input output registers that you can use. You can see that PA port A, PB port B, PC port C, and PD port D. Others are like ground pin and voltage pins. So these four ports that we'll be using. Port A has ADC enabled in it, so you need to write in a code to enable the ADC of this chip. By default, it is not enabled, and port B, port C, port D, and all their input output ports that you will be using. So this is a simple. No, this is actually the block diagram of Atmega 32. There are a lot of things in that. So the program flash that is there, whatever program you write into the Atmega 32, that program flash that gets stored in the program flash, and there are 32 registers, general purpose registers, GPR, and each register is 8-bit register. So the current Atmega 32 that we'll be using, like you will get mostly in your Arduino, that will be 8-bit register. So you'll have to write your code accordingly. 8-bit registers, and there are 32 registers, and there are other things like ALU and MCU. Then there are timer, interrupt, all things are there. So so if you write any program, you make any changes to the register, then you can no get it tested in your Proteus. Then Atmel Studio link I have already shared, and it is free of charge. There are two languages, C++, assembly. You can use using Atmel Studio. I'm going to demonstrate assembly in assembly language. So okay, I'll just stop the PPT and I'll directly show you the directly show you what are things to be done. So this is the Atmel Studio. After you have installed your software Atmel Studio, this is the home page that you are going to see. So we're going to load a project and write our codes in that. So the first step here is you go to the file there and you will create a new project here. So when you go for creating a new project, so please note down the steps because you are going to use them in the labs. And here you can see your compiler, which compiler you want to choose for because we'll be writing in assembly language. So we'll choose the assembler one. Then after you have chosen your compiler, which code you want to write, either it can be assembly or it can be CC++. So we are going to choose our device, which device, in which device you are going to run your program. So it is Atmega32 right now. So if you search for Atmega32, you will get the the first one, that Atmega32. This is the device. You are going to select the device. So first we choose the compiler, that is for assembly language. Second we choose our device, Atmega32 microcontroller. Now you get an option to, and it will create a project. It has created a project right now, and we can start writing our program here. So
Can you be slow a little bit? Otherwise, you are going to be a little faster. Become slower, little bit slower.
Okay, sir. Okay, so first thing I'll show you right now is a simple LED blinking project in a Proteus. The Atmega32 that it has one of the ports we'll use. Say we use a port A pin, port A. The port A will use one of the pins of the port A to connect it to a LED, and we'll write the code for the LED to blink with some delay. So to start with, no, we have to just like when you use in your first year, you have used C program, you would have used include stdio.h, something like that. No, so very similar to that, we also use in assembly coding here. We use dot include m32 def.inc. So this is this enables you to use the libraries, other things that is available, and it will be using the using the compiler properly. So note down the codes that we are writing here. Okay, so dot include is just similar to it. We are using m32 def.inc because it has 32 registers. If we use Atmega 16, it is 16-bit registers. Then you will use m16 def. It is similar to that. Then there is this instruction LDI. So you can look into the datasheet of AVR microcontroller, and you can understand the instructions that we are going to provide. No? So LDI R16, that means I am using the 16th register out of the 32 registers. The R16 register I am using, and LDI, what is it? Is simply loads. And so high RAM, and so there is a SRAM in the Atmega32, and there is a stack pointer. So the end of the RAM is where the stack pointer starts. So to initialize our to start our code, what we are going to do is that we have to get the value that is there in the end of the RAM, that is RAM end, that is at the end of SRAM. So high means we are taking the MSBs, the most significant bits of high bit, and SPH out SPH R16. So what it does? So we have loaded the value of high RAM end, that is the 8 MSB of RAM end, into the value in the register R16. Now the SPH, the stack pointer is a 16-bit register. in that is there in Atmega 32, but we are R16 is a 8-bit register. So SPH, what is that? It takes the higher 8 bits, and SPL, it takes the lower 8 bit. So it is like the MSB 8 bits and SPL is the lower 8 bits. So into R16 we have loaded the high the MSBs of RAM, and we have then out SPH R16. What it does, it takes the value that is present in the R16 and it gives that value as an output to SPH, to the stack pointer high bits. Similarly, we take the LSB of the lower significant bits of RAM, and we load it into the register R16. Then we make it available in the stack pointer of the lower bits. Now what I am doing here is, next step is LDI R16 0xFF. This is nothing but what I'm going to do. I'm loading the value of register 16 with all bits are high, 0xFF. So it is this is FF, that means hexadecimal values. So all the 8 bits, when you convert it into a binary, all the 8 bits are high. All the 8 bits are 111. All 8 bits are high, and I am giving that output as a default to the port A, that is DDRA. So R16 has got the value of all the bits high, that is 0xFF. Then I am taking the value that is present in the register 16 R16, and I am giving that a default output to the port A, that using DDRA. If I write it DDRB here, then it will use port B. So it is like that. So now next what I have to do, that I have to define a loop, so this loop will no turn the pin of the port A into high and low. It will change high and low so that LED can start blinking. So to define a loop, what we do in this thing is, we just write a loop. Then we're going to then first what we have to do is that we have to make the pins high of port A, and then we'll make it low. So I'll load a register value R16 as I had done previously also to high for 0xFF. Then I'll put it as output at port A. Then again I'll load the value of register 16 to low, and I'll put them output as a port A. So by this, the thing you will get is you can blink the LED over there. So just see, I'm loading the value of the register R16 with all high bits. Then I'm giving that output of the value of register to port A, and then I'm calling for a delay, because if I change the values, if the bits change to high and low very with high frequency, the LED will not be able to blink. So to blink the LED, we are so that we're giving that some time, some delay, so that LED can blink. So then we have then we are making the bits lower, the low going low, and then again we're doing it. Then we're calling a delay. So now next thing is to call a delay. So to call a delay, what we'll do, we'll load one register with some value. Say if you load the value with 0, the register value is 0, and we'll start decreasing the bits by one. So by the next, what will happen? So there are 8 bits, all 8 bits at 0. So it will start start decreasing. So if you set it at high, all are 1. So by one, all the bits, the value will decrease, and there will be 255 values possible, because it is 8-bit register. So 255 cycles will be there. So it will decrease, and because we want the LED to blink properly, we will give little more delay so that we can observe the blinking properly. So I'll call it for 2 cycles. So the LED will blink for 2 cycles. So we have called the delay, but we need to define the delay so that it will run properly. So just like in your programming languages, you use a function. So similarly, we are defining a delay, and it is like a function. So this is how I'll this is how I am going to call the delay loop. It's a delay function. So it has two loops basically. Sorry, it has two calls. One is the register 16, register 16, register 17. We are loading with the value 0. We can load it with any value, and we have started decreasing it. So from 0 it will go to -1. So there is -1 is not possible. So it will start again going to all the bits to 1, and it will not start decreasing the value. So there will be 255 cycles, and DEC is basically for decreasing the value, and no, it will decrease the value by 1 bit. And BRNE loop on, what it does, it checks the value of the register till it is 0. Like if the all the 255 cycles has been completed, then only the BRNE then only it will go to the next instruction, that is decreasing the value of register 17. So here R16 we have loaded with some value. You can load it with the higher bit also, 0xFF. You can load it with any mid value also. And DEC, what it does, it in a loop, it starts decreasing the value of the no, register 16. And when the values decrease, then BRNE loop on, what it does, it checks the value of register 16 if it is equal to 0. Like if the 256 cycles has been completed or not. Then again we are going to load the register 7 and decrease the register 7. So then we return to the loop, and after this one is performed, then we rjump loop, which again starts executing the loop. So this is how you can write a simple code for for LED blinking. So here I have done nothing, just I'm simply making the all the pins of the port A high, go high at certain point of time, then after some delay they are going low. So when I design the circuit, when the LED gets out power, so it will go high for some period of time, then it will go low for some period of time, and this is how it will start blinking. So after you have done the code, what you are supposed to do, you have to build it. So for building the program, here there is a build as assembler application, or you can simple just F7 press, it will build the solution. So if your code is every proper, there is no error, so you will get this message that build is succeeded, build one is succeeded or up to date, whatever. Now when this thing has happened, you have written your code, and you have completed your when you have written your code and you have successfully built, then it will generate a hex file in the debug folder in your project wherever it is saved. So no, like when I have saved the project, the project is saved. You generally it's by default it will be saved in your document folder. But if you have not saved it, if you have chosen a different folder, then it will get saved over there. So if I go to my documents, so here you can see the Atmel Studio. Okay, so this is the 7 version, and there is assembler application 5. This is the one which I had just recently built it, assembler application 5. When I go to assembler application 5 to the folder, to the debug folder, there is a hex file, assembler application 5.hex. So this hex file we are going to use for burning our code into the Atmega 32 in our circuit. So next, what I'm going to do is that I have to design my circuit. Okay. So designing a circuit in Proteus is very simple. As I had told you, you will be needing a licensed version of Proteus, or else it will be difficult to do whatever I have told you. Just give me a minute. You are able to see the Proteus design suite 8.6. So this is the default home page of this software. So here you can see there is this help home, there is a schematic capture, PCB layout, simulation, virtual designer. So we are going to go to the schematic picture here from top. Also you can go to that, and what it will do, the schematic picture, it will give me the option to design my circuit over here. Okay, so Here there are a lot of, like you can see, there is a selection mode, component mode. Towards the left I am pointing out. Okay, so then there is junction dot wire level. So you can use this terminals mode. Generally we will use for giving ground and giving supplies. And this device pins mode and graph mode. There is this generator mode and probe mode. So here you get your oscilloscope. No, if you design something and you want to verify using a oscilloscope, so from here you can get it. So in general, when you want to add a device, so suppose if I want to add a oscilloscope here, so I select a oscilloscope here. Okay, so when I select, I go to the main here, and when I again left click, just a minute. Okay, so if you want to select, suppose this one ground, or then you can go here and you'll get a ground like this. So we are not going to use it. You can delete the object. So the thing that we'll be using at first is we need a Atmega32. So when you click on this P, so you will get the option to go to your library of your devices that is there in your the library, and you can select your device. Say suppose if I want to add a register, so I can search for the word register. So I get an option for selecting the register device. So there are a lot of options you will get. So this is one is the register. So if you want to connect, if I want to connect a register, this is how I'll select a register device. If I want to connect, say if I want to connect a capacitor, so if I want to connect a capacitor, here you get the option for you can choose a capacitor, or you can choose active capacitor. So this is how. So right now at this point of time I need a Atmega32, because this is what I'm going to connect a circuit over there. So this is Atmega32. So I'll so I've selected the device Atmega32, and I have placed it in my this schematic capture, this device. So as I have told you that we have written the code for port A here. So all the port A here, the port A pins are going to go high and go low with some delay. So I'm going to connect a device that is needed, that is LED. So again I'll go to this. I'll select on P. I'll go to the library, and I'll pick a LED from there to connect it. Okay, so this LED BIBI terminology just for yellow color, blue and yellow color. Okay, so I have selected one LED. Okay, now I am going to place the LED, say somewhere here. Okay, I have placed the LED. It is just left click things. You have to select the device and just a click, and you'll get your LED. So now I will connect it with some of the ports. Say this I'm connecting it to the pin number 39 of pin number 39 of the this Atmega32. Now I'll be connecting it to the LED. So this is how I have connected to the LED. It is very simple. You have to just connect. You have to select the device. The next thing I need is a ground. So next thing I need a ground is just to connect to the LED. So I've connected a ground here. Okay. So till now this circuit is very simple. Just we have taken the Atmega32. We have taken the port A pin, and we have connected to the LED. Now comes the burning program. So when it is a hardware, you will be needing a programmer to program it into your hardware. But on this one, to check, you have to double click on the Atmega32, and here there is this option for program file. You can change your clock frequency also if you want. So this will change the clock frequency of the by default clock frequency of your Atmega32. So this program file, you can go to your program file, and here you can choose the hex file that I just shown you. We had generated that hex file. With the assembler application 5 was the program that we had written, that project we had created. We had gone to the debug, and I have chosen this hex file over here. Okay, so now when I load the hex file here into the Proteus, and now I can check my circuit how it works. Okay, so to run it, this the on the bottom left there is option for running the program. So running the simulation. When I am running the simulation, you see the LED is blinking. So the LED is blinking, and you see also the port A pins over here. So they are going high for a certain period of time, and they are going low for a certain period of time, and this is how the LED is blinking. Okay, so this is a very simple one, simple example. This is just to get acquainted with use of Proteus and use of Atmel Studio. So by today you should install both of them and you can run it. So next thing that what we are going to do is we are going to use a DAC. We will use a simple DAC because the time is less. I will not go through the whole circuit design. I'll just show you the circuit. Okay, so we will connect a DAC. So whatever digital signal that is coming out at the port A, or say you will use port B for the next program, the next circuit. I had used port B in that. So I'll give this input to a DAC, and the DAC will convert it to analog signal, and will use a oscilloscope to check what is the signal over there. Okay, so I am just stopping this program, and I'll go and I'll open the, by default I had already designed the circuit previously. So this is the circuit that we are going to design. You can take a picture of this of the whole circuit, because this will be needed in your labs for today and tomorrow. So just take a picture of this and just try to understand what I'll be doing. So I'll take the port B pin over here, and whatever digital signal that will be the output at port B, they will act as input to this DAC. We are using a DAC 0808, very simple. Then we've set the voltage reference for the DAC. Then we'll take the output, and you will measure the output in oscilloscope. We'll take the output, and these are this volt B supplies, just a voltage supply. So this minus 15 volt is very important. Many times people leave it, and the circuit won't work. Okay, so so what I will do is that we'll go to our previous code, which is the LED blinking. So the LED blinking code was it was just about we're making all the ports low. So if you just burn that code into this circuit, then what kind of waveform we'll see? Can anyone of you tell? If I take the
square
code of,
wave.
yeah, correct. We'll see a square wave because all the pins are going high for a certain period of time, and then they'll okay. So what I'll do is that I'll go to the Atmel Studio back again where I had written the code. Okay. So here, because our circuit connection is in port B, we have to change the code to port B. So this is default DDRB R16. By default, it will be all the points will be high. And after we have load the value of register port B into port B. Okay. So then we are making all of them go high at a certain point of time, and then making them go low for some period of time. After I have done the changes, I'll again build it. So it will regenerate the hex file. So when it regenerates the hex file, it basically it will go to the Atmega32, and it will rewrite the values of the register and the instruction set that we have given right now. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the software to Proteus. Just a minute. Okay, here I'm going to load the Atmega32. I'm going to again reload this assembler application 5 hex file. Okay. Now when I have reloaded it and when I run the simulation again, so the oscilloscope should give me result of a square waveform. You can see the port B pins are going high and low, and this output of the port B is going as input to the DAC. And for loading a digital oscilloscope, you go to debug, and from there you select your oscilloscope, and you see this is the square waveform. There is some delay coming here. It is not exactly the square waveform because who can tell why it is happening? Why both the sides the time is not equal?
Sir, the time for which it is active and for the time it is under delay, both are different.
Yeah, it is happening because we have by default we have loaded some values into the port B, and then it changes to low. Then it gets the default value, and again it goes to high. So there is the active time. It is by default value.
It is not a square wave; it's a rectangular wave. No problem.
It's a rectangular wave. So if you want to change it to a square wave, you have to add one more delay when it is going low. It'll work simply like that. Or the task for your lab that you will be you can make use of the same code or just make it a little bit delay. Make some changes, and you will have to generate a sawtooth waveform. So you have to generate a sawtooth waveform. So I have already created that hex file for sawtooth waveform. I'll just load it again. I'll show you what is a sawtooth waveform. Okay. So when I'm loading this hex file here over here, and when I run the simulation and I open the oscilloscope, you see it is a sawtooth waveform. So this sawtooth waveform is nothing, just the half triangular wave kind of thing. So you have to just make small changes in your code. So the task for your lab is that first you install the software Proteus and Atmel Studio, and I hope all of you have noted the code when I was showing you, and the circuit. So the LED blinking circuit is very simple. You just run the when you burn the code, it starts blinking, and when you use the same code, it generates a kind of rectangular wave, and you have to write the code for sawtooth waveform generation. So this is how it will generate the sawtooth waveform. So please take a picture of this circuit. So it uses some capacitor, resistor, and some voltage values, and nothing else. Okay. So, sir, actually, for today, this part I'm done for today's part. I think they'll be able to do in the lab. Anyone have any doubts, any questions regarding this?
Can you explain the code once again?
The LED blinking part.
The code will be with all the TAs. So it can be also, you can copy it, but once you copy it, you can take a screenshot of the code, whatever required. Anyway, you can, it is up to Prathavan, you can explain the code once again. But the TAs for today's lab, that is Naivedya and Sarthak, I think. Who is there today? Naivedya is there? Who is there?
Yes, sir. I am there.
Okay. So both of you, please note down these codes. You take it from Patita Bhavan and get it done. And all others, please be ready with this demonstration for tomorrow. Tomorrow he might give you another demo on the Proteus generating the sawtooth wave or something, DA interface. So digital filter complete thing is there on the YouTube link, which I have shared already. I will share right away again. Okay. So in the meantime, Patita Bhavan can give the demo. I'm giving you the YouTube link in which you can get it.
Okay, so I'll just go through the code quickly again. If anyone gets any doubt, please let me know. Okay, so this is first we are including all the library. It is just simple, just like you in your C first year programming classes. When you are using C, you would have include no dot include stdio dot h no mat dot h like that. So it is very similar to that. It loads the instruction library, and then this part of RAM and stack pointer. This is by default. You'll have to use it to initialize the atmega32 to run to store the code in program classes, and and to run to get the values that is there in the SRAM in the memory of atmega32. So we are taking the register 16 and we are loading the value of register 16. This is the first instruction. The high bits, the MSB bits of RAM and register. RAM and is that is the register at the end of SRAM that is there. Okay, and SPH, SPL, they are stack pointer high bit and stack pointer low bit. So SP stack pointer is a 16-bit register, but because we are using 8-bit registers in our atmega32, R16 is 8-bit register. So R16 it cannot give the all the values to stack pointer. So we are first we are using SPH register, that SPH the high 8 bits of the stack pointer register. Whatever value that is present in R16, we have loaded the value of RAM and into R16, and the value that is present in R16 that is going to come into stack pointer high. That is output as output. Out SPH R16 means it takes it uses the SPH register and takes the value of R16 and it will give the output. And again we are loading the R16 with low RAM and we are giving the output to SPL. Then this is the default value of port A or port B that we are going to say. So if you have chosen 0xFF, so by default the ports are going to stay at high when they are active, and they will become active. Okay, so I've just loaded the value. Hey, this is a hexadecimal value. Okay, so this value to the register 16 and this value of the register 16 that is there. It is going to give be at the port output B. Now next in a loop we are defining the code that the port will go, all the pins of the port B will go high for some time and then again they will go low for some time. Okay, so we are using a register 16. You can use any register. There are 32 registers. I think there will be 1-2 registers which will be reserved for a default operation of some default registers, but most of the registers will be available. So we are using R16 register here and we are loading the value 0xFF into R16, and that same value will be coming to port B as output, because port B is our input output register pin. So you are giving the value of R16 to port B, and then we are calling for a delay. We are waiting for some time the ports to stay high, and then we are again loading the value of low bit values to register 16, and again we are giving them output as to port B. So the port B registers will go down for some period of time. So they're high and low with some delay, and then we have defined a delay. Delay is that where we have given a value to register 16 and we have given a value to register 17, and then we're decreasing the values step by step. So I've started from 0, so it will go back to the highest value after first decrement, then it will start decreasing. So there are, because it is a 8-bit register, there are 255 values, and because we have started from 0, so there will be 256 cycles. So one by one, DEC is for decrement. Decrement decreases R16, the value of register 16. So it will run for 256 cycles, because it will decrease the values 256 times. And BRNE loop 1, what it does, it just checks the value of register 16 if it is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, that means 256 cycles of operation has happened, and then when the value is again back to 0 after it is decreased, then it will stop the instruction there until it will go to the next instruction. So it will come to decrement of R17, register 17. So once again, when register 17 is operated for 256 cycles, then BRNE keeps checking. then we are giving two set of 256 cycles actually. And whatever the default clock frequency of Atmega 32, it will run accordingly. So we are total 512 cycles of delay we are giving into multiplied by its default frequency, default operating time. Return is just this is we are ending the loop 1, and R jump loop, that means we are running the loop again and again. That means if we cannot just run it for 1 cycle, that LED will blink and stop. We have to run it in a loop, so the LED will keep blinking. So this is the code actually. So once you go to the data sheet, you'll understand all the instructions in much more detail. Once you understand the Atmega 32 architecture also, then you'll be able to do it better. Anything else anybody has?
Yes, sir. When we are using the same delay function for even after switching it on and then after switching it off, then why are we getting two different delays?
No, the delay cycle is same actually, but no, by that there is a default value here. So it changes from default value to the loop. So that's what it takes time. It takes another set of delay for this default value to change. I'll show you.
But shouldn't that default value? Okay.
Just a minute, I'll show you. So when I'll be just a minute. When I load this assembler application, you see here there is a small step over here, no? So this is basically the complete square waveform, but this part it is again loading the default value after the loop has been executed, then again it is changing to high and low. So this is how it is, no? You can change it like you can change the internal clock frequency of Atmega to decrease it, or you can give another delay to at the lower bit to make it a perfect square waveform, or you to not to make it any little more complicated. When I've just taken the default value, I can change the default value. So there are a lot of things. So this is just meant for LED blinking. So I just give an example that how you can generate a waveform. So I loaded the default waveform over there.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So referring back to the program, why is it loading the default value after every cycle? Like it should only load the default value at the beginning and then run the loop continuously.
This Atmega 32, it is when you are doing it, using it in a hardware, no, Atmega 32. So program flash is there, then it has SRAM. So from SRAM it has to go to the program flash and read the instruction and then come. So it happens in every cycle. So that period is there. So if you just change the frequency to very high, the delay will go. Okay, so I think the time is.
I think we are almost reaching time. 2 minutes left. So if you guys have any questions, otherwise it's closed for today. So today's lab, Naivedya, you have to take. Patitapavan, you can come in because I may be traveling. Though it is not the scheduled lab, you can be there. If there is any help, you can be there. Naivedya, you can request Patitapavan to be there.
Yes,
so,
sir. Yes, sir.
So you have to order this Arduino board, Uno board, all of you, and the 2 data sheets Pooja must have uploaded by this time. You please have a look, and the books which I told I will also upload. Books are not important now, but after few classes it is important. Now you focus on the data sheet and assembly language coding of Atmega AVR microcontrollers. There is a book also, good book, Assembly Language Programming of AVR Microcontrollers. The Yazidi or something is there. Majidi.
Majidis.
Majidi, you can get it learn. Majidi. Assembly language programming for AVR microcontrollers. It is there. This book many people follow. So you can follow this book. Okay. So you have to show this. So you must have given your. So next time, let us meet again tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday 12 noon. So you guys by the time should have installed Proteus. If you have any questions, anything, we will discuss again. Patitavaman will come in tomorrow. One more request to all of you is to keep one slot free on the Wednesday, so that if you have any extra classes, we can take on that. Because Monday morning, sometimes I travel. So I want one slot, which is Wednesday afternoon, which is a lab slot for many. So many of you should be there. So you will like to take some classes Wednesday afternoon. Everybody should keep themselves free. Maybe 3 to 5 or something like that. 2 to 5 is the lab class anyway, but I will override the lab class sometimes with theory. So this is a request so that you can avoid this one day morning 8 to 10 classes, which will be drowsy for you, because Sunday and Monday first 2 periods are little difficult. All the best, guys. Let's have a good time. Think about a product which is feasible. Make teams of 3. Then Pooja will coordinate it. Rahul will coordinate it. Rahul Mahadik will coordinate it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.